Salute. The word of the Lord has come upon me, and I have no intentions of dilly-dallying. God's filled my pitcher, and to whereas it wishes to overflow, to try to bring it to the table and without spilling it all over the place, until I'm poured out before the Lord and his congregation. I shall in no wise rest. God's doing a great work. We're living in the days of Noah. Noah being the eighth soul, the representative of Christ on the earth. And if you have studied Calvinism or Arminianism, or the Calvinists believed in predestination. They believed that before you were knit together in your mother's womb, God knew you. And who are we to contend against God and say, why have you made us thus? The broom head contending against, the broom handle against the broom head. God's ways are higher than ours. We just have to fulfill his will, But those that are predestined unto eternal glory, God will save the house of faith. Just like on Noah's Ark. They didn't complete the process. And, Noah brought, or God actually through Noah, his representative, his mouthpiece, he brought into that ark the clean as well as the unclean. They were still graven. They were not consumed. They were not eaten, but they were prepared, just like Abraham prepared his servants, that through the process that they would become living sacrifices, that they would become clean, and that they would be offered up unto the Lord as a living sacrifice, well-pleasing, acceptable unto the Lord. That's right. And then there are those that are predestined, vessels of wrath, stored away, held in iron, unto the wrath and the mighty judgment of the Almighty One. Get down, brother, get down. So let's not beat around the bush, but have faith. We're going to go to, and I know people get weary, go, oh, there's another person preaching. He just reads the scripture. I can read the scripture myself. I don't need him. Well, you know what? Pick and choose what you want to do this day. But I'm telling you that the angel of the Lord has spoken to me. You can take it to the bank, or you can throw it down the sewer, because God's going to draw people that hear his voice, and they love and they are adorn the truth. So let's get to it. Deuteronomy chapter 29, 17 through 11. If you can hang with me long enough, you will marvel. So I was a little bit baffled as God spoke to me in chapter 29 in Deuteronomy. Out of his storehouse, he brings not only the old but new, the Old Testament and the New Testament. When we witness to people, we tell them where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. The old and the new. So that's what God's doing. It's the two faithful witnesses that abide in us. It is Moses and Elijah, the law and the testimony. Does anybody have the testimony? Can I get a witness? The spirit of prophecy, the testimony of Christ, the hope of glory in us. Wow, man. But anyway, God told me, Deuteronomy 29, and he told me to go backwards because this world is upside down. And God's servants turn the world right side up. So he had me to read these scriptures backwards. Yeah, the instruments of a foolish shepherd. Well, I was a fool for the world. Now I'm a fool for Jesus. And you know what? I ain't going to do it my way. I'm going to do it his way. Listen and obey, for there's no other way to be righteous in Jesus is to hear the word and obey. So 17:11. Wow. 17:11. 17 through 11. Well, man, hey, look. And you've seen their abominations and their idols of wood, in stone, silver, gold, which were among them, just like their idols, they spoke not. They talked about it all day long, but they couldn't speak. All right? They could not speak. They were just like their idols. They couldn't see, they couldn't hear, they didn't have a heart to perceive and understand, and therefore they could not be a mouthpiece and represent the kingdom, the Lord, our God. So they spoke not. And so I'm going to encourage you to listen. And if you learn to listen well, you will start to glisten. Learning to listen. Oh, I heard him, but I wasn't really listening. Well, guess what? When you get perfect learning to listen, the word listen will transform into glisten. So glisten well. 17, well, we've seen we've lived in Babylon. We were born in Babylon. So we've seen their idols and we know they're false. Get down, brother, get down. And for ye know how we have dwelt in the land of Egypt, trying to fight for our rights and our liberties and defend our intellectual property. We've been fighting all day, in vain. And how we came through those nations which we passed by. But with him that standeth here with us this day before the Lord our God, and also with him that's not here with us, God's got his people scattered all over the world. He's got his children in Indonesia and in China, in Turkey, Lebanon, in Russia. They're all over. He's got his people scattered all over the earth, and he's drawing them back today to them that glisten well. God's drawing them by his Spirit. He's putting an unction in their heart that it's time. So not only with you and me to here today, but also with them that are not here today. Neither with you alone do I make this covenant and this oath, that he may establish thee today for a people unto himself, that he may be unto you a God, as he hath said unto you, and as he swore unto thy fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that thou shouldest enter into this covenant with the Lord thy God, and into his oath, with which the Lord thy God maketh with thee this day. Yeah, your little ones, yes. Yeah, your wives. The stranger that is in thy camp, just like Abraham, he loved the stranger. He came out of Shinar. He came out of Horam or whatever. He came out of Babylon. He came out of the big cities, and he said, this ain't it. This is idolatry. This is a horse donkey. I want a city that's built without men's hands. I want to see God build a city. I want to see God do the work. I'm tired. I'm wearied. And so, even from the hewer of thy wood unto the drawer of thy water, I want you to know that, it's about following him and doing what he's doing. I was out in the desert, man. I said, well, Lord, I'm such a great craftsman. There's so many things I could do for you. And fasting and praying in the desert, God would always say, he says, I don't want you to do dick. I don't want you doing nothing. I was insulted. I thought, what? But Lord, I want to serve you. God's the one who wants to do it. You just need to abide in him. You just need to do what he's doing. He just wants you to let go and stop trying to serve him your way. That's the covenant that he's offering you today. We're going to move on to Jeremiah 27:11. through 22. And but the nations that bring their neck under the yoke of the king of Babylon and serve him, and those that I let remain still in their own land, saith the Lord, and they shall till it and dwell therein. I spake also to Zedekiah, king of Judah, according to all these words, saying, bring your neck under the yoke of the king of Babylon, serve him and his people, and live. There was a time we were born in Babylon. We inherited the sins of our fathers. And, unfortunately, that the majority of us were inherently to bow down to the golden image, whenever the dulcimer or the horns or harp, or whenever they heard the music, we were supposed to, just like rock and roll, and we were supposed to learn the ways of Babylon. Because if we didn't, there's a time, why will you die, thou and thy people, by the sword, famine, and pestilence? There was a time that we just had to, we were taken into captivity, our fathers. So we were born, all of us were born in Babylon, and we learned the ways of the Babylonians. Except for a very, very few, like Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, and Daniel. I have an exception to the rule, because God had to have ambassadors there too. But predominantly, the majority of us have had to succumb to idolatry. And the Lord hath spoken unto the nation that will not serve the king of Babylon. All right. And therefore hearken not unto the words of the prophet that speak unto you, saying, well, you shall not serve the king of Babylon. For they prophesy a lie unto you. We were forced, our fathers, my dad, my grandpa, they were forced to serve Babylon. We can't blame them. Can't blame them. Babylon. So this is where, this is just how it is, or how it was, but God's changing all that now. It's time. It's been 70 years. He's bringing people out of Babylon, and we are going to bring our parents with us. They didn't want this. It wasn't their choice. Why should we contemn the head? Why should we contend against God, saying, why hast thou made us thus? But we are a very precious, precious seed. And we were made for this very hour. Wow, what an honor. What a great, great honor. I tremble that I shall not fall, that God would keep me, that ego and pride would never raise its face again. The enemies, the kings of Satan. Oh, where was I? my bad. Therefore hearken not unto the words. Okay, you shall not. Okay, so we were forced to serve Babylon. For I have now not sent them, saith the Lord, yet they prophesy a lie in my name, that I will drive you out, and that ye might perish, ye and the prophets that prophesy unto you. Also I spake to the priests, to all the people, saying, Thus saith the Lord, hearken not to the words of your prophets that prophesy unto you, saying, Behold, the vessels of the Lord's house shall now shortly be brought again from Babylon, for they prophesy a lie unto you. In other words, it wasn't time yet. It's time now. You know, the whole process and procedures that God has ordained to restore us into the Holy of Holies, to become sons of God. You know, all those things have been perverted, twisted, hauled away into Babylon. And so Jerusalem lies in rubble. And, you know, the people that are vile figs that can't be eaten, that, they're very, very stiff-necked and stubborn, hard-hearted. They say, oh, no, God will never leave us. We're going to go ahead. We're going to keep it going on like it's always been, just because you got cast into, hauled away captive into Babylon. We got it going on. We still got it. No, you don't. You don't have it going on. You don't. So hearken not unto them. Serve the king of Babylon and live. Wherefore should this city be laid waste? But if they be prophets, and if the word of the Lord be with them, well, let them now make intercession to the Lord of hosts, that the vessels which are left in the house of the Lord, and in the house of the king of Judah, and at Jerusalem, go not to Babylon. Yeah. Well, what was it here? Through 22, for thus saith the Lord of hosts concerning the pillars, concerning the sea, concerning the bases, concerning the residual of the vessels that remain in the city, which Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, took not, when he carried away captive Jeconiah, the son of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, from Jerusalem to Babylon, all the nobles of Judah, Jerusalem. Yea, thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, concerning the vessels that remain in the house of the Lord, in the house of the king of Judah. They shall be carried to Babylon. And I will visit, and there shall they be until the day, then they shall be carried to Babylon, the pillars of God's strength, his representative. They're going to be taken into Babylon. That's where they've been all these years. They shall be carried to Babylon, and there shall they be until the day that I visit them. That day is today, saith the Lord, and then will I bring them up and restore them to this place, to build Jerusalem again, and to restore the priesthood and the entire process of being cleansed and purified, the outer court, the inner court, and the Holy of Holies, the royal priesthood, the pillars of God's house. The whole procedure is going to be restored now because it's time. And then God started to speak to me about Zerubbabel. Listen well. And Zerubbabel descended of, born in Babylon. Zerubbabel is going to build the house of God. Because it's time. Because God is visiting his people that are hemmed up in Babylon. Zechariah, chapter 4, 1 through 14, talks quite a bit about Babylon. We're going to go there, even though, let's see here. Let's discuss what's happening, how this works. how we're coming out of Babylon. And I got hundreds of messages that I could choose from. I could manufacture a message that just might flicker a little bit, but I'm looking for a burning flame, and that only comes from my God, our Creator. So I'm gonna stick to His playbook. I'm sticking to His blueprint. So hang in there with me for a minute, all right? Let's go there together if you're able. And some of you are, and some of you do, and some of you will. And God will bring more to His table. Nehemiah had 120 and servants, yes, and it started at the head there. The valiant warriors, 37 that served King David, and those that are treasures and vessels of valor, valiant men that are willing to fight for God's people and for His kingdom. They will sit at the table with us, which is the Lord's table. So let's go look at Zerubbabel for a minute. And I'm going to go to 4:6, cut right to the throat. I'm going for the throat, brother. So 4:6 said, then he answered and spoke unto me and said, this is the word of the Lord unto Zerubbabel, saying, not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. This whole procedure, this whole process it's not going to require the strength of the flesh of your arm. It has everything to do with God's Spirit. That stone with 7 eyes and 7 horns. That chief cornerstone. You know, the stumbling block to many. You know, a sign to be spoken against the rise and fall of many nations and many people. So, you know, I encourage you to read Zechariah chapter 4, because the angel, and I'm going to read it through, you know, like I said, if you can bear with me. And the angel that talked with me, and probably the same angel that's speaking to us today, you know, was talking here in Zechariah. And the angel that talked with me came again, and he waked me as a man that's wakened out of a sleep. I was asleep until God sent His messenger to us and said unto me, what seest thou? That's how it's been working for me. You know, those seeds, those gifts were given to me so many years ago, and He's bringing them alive again. And I've had many visions lately, and I don't share those with everyone because to be hasty for nothing. You know, look for 3 witnesses. And said unto me, what seest thou? And I said, well, I've looked, and behold, a candlestick of gold with bowls upon the top, and 7 lamps thereon, 7 pipes, 7 lamps, which are upon the top thereof. 2 olive trees by it, one upon the right bowl, and another on the left. And so I answered, and I spake to the angel that talked with me, saying, well, what be these, O Lord? And then the angel that talked with me answered and said unto me, knowest not thou what these be? And I said, no. And then he answered and he spake unto me, saying, this is the word of the Lord unto Zerubbabel, or Zerubbabel, saying, not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord of hosts. That is the bottom line. God's Spirit. You know not what manner of spirit you are, because the spirit that driveth you lusteth to envy. Even Jesus' followers they were upbraided, they were criticized and saying, your heart is deceitfully wicked. Who can know it? That the spirit that is driving you is arrogant. It's haughty. You think you're it? You still haven't figured. Are your hearts still hard that you do not understand yet? How can God soften a man's heart? Well, we'll get to that. Who art thou, O great mountain? Babylon. Before Zerubbabel, thou shalt become a plain. God's going to level the playing field. He's bringing that false city to its grave, to them that have faith and believe. He shall bring forth the headstone thereof with shoutings, crying, grace, grace, grace unto it. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, the hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of this house. His hand shall also finish it, and thou shalt know that the Lord of hosts hath sent me unto you. The angel has been sent unto us. For who hath despised the day of small beginnings? For thou, mock me, do whatever you want. There's no room under my skin. Jesus is filling me up. He is occupying every micro moment, every micro second, every minute of my day. Try me. It ain't gonna work. Who has despised small beginnings? And for they shall rejoice, shall see the plummet in the hand of Zerubbabel with those 7. They are the eyes of the Lord which run to and fro through the whole earth. My soul, the earth. Female, his spirit is male. It produces after his kind 7 spirits, wisdom, knowledge, understanding, counsel, might, the fear and the reverence of the Lord our God. His eyes see things. They open the word up to you. They teach you. These eyes teach you symbolism and the interpretation of dreams and open vision. These eyes, they search the heart of a man. They run to and fro through it. And then I answered and I said unto him, well, what are these 2 olive trees upon the right of the candlestick and the left? And he answered and said unto him, what be these 2 olive branches which through the 2 golden pipes empty the golden oil out of themselves? And he answered and he said to me, you don't know this? Well, no, I don't do nothing. I don't know nothing. Tell me. And he said, no, I don't understand. And I don't either, until he opens it up to us. And then he said, these are the 2 anointed ones that shall stand by the Lord of the whole earth. These are the 2 faithful witnesses, Moses and Elijah, that which is old and that which is new. Out of the storehouse of God, he teaches us the laws of God, the left hand. And he teaches us the testimony of Jesus Christ, the spirit of prophecy on the right hand. And it's time for these 2 anointed ones to rise up in each one of us. This is the oil that fills our lamp. This is the covenant that God confirms with many for a week, 7 days of the tribulation. Even the 7 spirits of God, the fulfillment of God's the inheritance of those that make covenant with him today. That I'm willing to lay down my life, even as Jesus laid down his life to do the will of his Father. He showed us the way. He said, I'm coming back the same way that I went up. Do even as I'm doing. And I will make manifest. I'll send you Jesus Christ. And he is come in the flesh. He will occupy and be coronated in you, the temple of God. So prepare ye a place for him, because he wants to live in you. And he wants you to do the work so that he can show you his face and even bring you from your adolescence and your ignorance to the full maturity and stature of his divinity. Moving on, more witnesses. Do I got a witness? Well, when Jesus lives in you, he is the witness. He has so much that he would love to speak to you of. But to them that are stubborn and hard-hearted and stiff-necked and dull of hearing and blinded by the traditions of our fathers and by the craft and the slay of very cunning men, blind leaders that lead the blind, he could not. He has so many things he wants to speak of, but they were not able. So we're going to go to, where is this? Acts 12:13 through 19. I told you, he brings out of his storehouse both the old and the new, the law and the testimony. Same with our witness. We're living epistles. We share where we've been. Many martyrs. It's good that people can see the redemption of a man. Not only your old videos where you've been, and not only where you are, but we preach about where we're headed. Keep it real, dear brother. I love you to pieces. Many martyrs. Acts 12, 13 through 19. Now when Paul and his company, that ain't it. 12. And as Peter knocked at the door of the gate, a damsel came to hearken, named Rhonda, which means a servant girl. This is the process that we're coming here. A lot of those people that are servants to sin, they're handmaidens, they're not there yet. And they hear about, they hear something, but they're not quite ready yet. So, and when she knew Peter's voice, she opened not the gate for gladness, but ran in and told, how Peter stood before the gates. Peter had been locked up in prison, just like the rest of us in Babylon. We were slaves and hemmed up. Yeah, and well, this is a very symbolic of this very day and hour and minute of what's going on in this parable or this testimony, this witness that I'm reading to you today. That Peter, just like the rest of us, we've been persecuted our whole life, or are lied to, and disinformation, and mocked, and God had predestined us unto eternal glory, and nothing added up, nothing made sense. The whole world was as if you were a foreigner or an alien in this land. And you went with the flow. That ended up in the sea. And just like carp at the marina, you throw some bread out there and every carp is out for numero uno, until you ended up in the sea just like them, and your brother crawled up to spare or to preserve or protect himself, and it wore you so thin that eventually, uh, uh, if Jesus hadn't intervened and reached down and pulled you out, the sea is full of dead corpses. Every soul dies in the sea. You see how this world, capitalism, being competitive, being greater, the biggest rock star, oh, look at me, it's all about me, numero uno, uno numero. So I went with the flow, but I realized that, the truth was upstream. The source of that pure mountain spring. Yeah, in order to get there, I'd have to go against the flow. Like a chainsaw against a tree, I was going to run into resistance. Because if everybody's going that way, the truth must be that way. Because I see we've all walked through and we've seen their idols and their abominations. We've seen their idolatry. We've seen that they build with wood and stone and gold and silver. But my God, he's alive. He's not dead. And without the Spirit of God, the body's dead without his Spirit. And they said unto her, well, you art mad, Rhonda. And she constantly affirmed that it was even so. And then said they, well, it's his angel. But Peter continued knocking, just as I am knocking on your door. And when they had opened the door and saw him, they were astonished. You go back to my first video and you can see that I'm in prison. And I lost a lot of viewers because, they really didn't give a flip about anybody. All the scum was coming to the surface of the cauldron. And let that be a warning that, don't judge before the time. That a lot of people that are looking at the symptoms, that they are going to miss the boat because they didn't have a heart for God, and neither their fellow man that was drowning or that was in prison. And here we have Peter in prison, and they never cease day or night to pray for him. Blessed are those that will intercede for their brethren when they see the distress that we are in. That they have a heart for other people. And they don't say give, they don't give up easily, but they stay the course. They hold the line. Isn't that what Maximus said? Hold the line. Stay with me. Yeah, that was Gladiator. And I said the wrong thing the other day. Willem, that was Braveheart, and I said Patriot, but he played in both movies, the actor there. But like I said, I'm coming out, and I'll be able to articulate, and the cleaner I become. Moses stuttered, Well, so we all have our glitches. So until, we can become more effectual, we pray for things. So Peter continued knocking, when they had opened the door and saw him, they were astonished, but he beckoned unto them with a hand to hold their peace, declaring unto them how the Lord had brought him out of the prison. Yeah, God did it. And he said, go show these things unto James and the brethren. And he departed and went into another place. And now, as soon as it was day, there was no small stir among the soldiers. What was become of Peter. And when Herod had sought for him and found him not, he examined the keepers and commanded that they should be put to death. And he went down from Judea to Caesarea and there abode. Well, who are the guards and who are the keepers of the prison? Well, they work for Satan. They're also gang stalkers. The DOD. Oh, yeah, FBI, CIA. You know, these Baal priests in the universities. Guess what? They're going to be put to death. Man, I mean, I just really rock, baby. Rock on. Yeah, that's what's happening. The scriptures don't lie.